Before attempting this problem, I recommend grabbing one of these. We've got a bunch of numbers here, and the calculator is going to make things a lot simpler. Okay, so we want to find the median educational attainment for the decade of 1990. And the way we're going to do that is following the 5 steps here, which tell us how to find the median of a relative frequency distribution. Okay, so we're going to start from the top, following step 1, starting from the top, add percentages until the sum is bigger than 50. The last cell added in this way is called the target cell. So I'm just going to grab the calculator, start from the top, 0.007 plus 0.007 plus 0.034 plus 0 plus 0.109 plus 0.3. We're still not quite at 50% yet. What if we add 0.289? I bet you we get more than 50%, and sure enough we do. So this guy is the last cell we added to tip the scales across 50%, and so that is our target cell. Now, the next step says find the running sum before adding the target cell and subtract it from 50. All that means is add up every number except the target cell. Add up all these numbers, but don't add the target cell. So just these first 6 numbers, we add them up, we subtract that result from 50, so we'll have this. When I add these 6 numbers together, I get 0.57, and then I make sure to subtract that from 50. Now I know I said 50 here. 50 is the number you subtract from if these are percentages, but these aren't percentages, these are actually technically, I guess, decimals or probabilities, but they're not quite listed as percentages. So make sure that we're dealing with 0.5 when you're dealing with decimals like this. If you were dealing with percentages, then don't do 0.5, do 50. Okay, so we're going to do 0.5 minus 0.457. If I do that, I get 0.043. Next step, step 3, says divide that result by the target cell percentage. In this case, my target cell percentage was 0.289. That gives me 0.149. The next step is multiply that result by the width of the target cell's interval. What do I mean by the width of the target cell's interval? Well, this is the target cell. We come all the way over here and look at this interval, 13 to 16. That interval has a width of 3. 16 minus 3 is 3. So we're going to take that result, multiply it by 3. We get times 3, and that gives me 0.446. And then the last step is to add that result to the left endpoint of the target cell's interval. So again, we're going to reference the target cell's interval way down here. Target cell's interval is 13 to 16. We add this result of 0.446 to the left endpoint of that interval. So 13 plus 0.446 is going to give me 13.45. And that is our answer for median educational attainment in 1990. We're going to do the same exact process all over again for 1940. So here I go. I'm going to start from the top and add the cells until I get a number bigger than 50%. And the last cell I do add in that way is called the target cell. So 0.028 plus 0.095 plus 0.177, and sure enough, when I add 0.27, I've crossed the threshold of 50%, so this 0.27 is our target cell. Okay, so we've got the 0.270 as our target cell. Now we're going to follow the next steps. We're going to add these values up until the target cell. That's going to give me 0.028 plus 0.095 plus 0.177. Subtracting that from 50%, or from 0.5 rather, is going to give me 0.2. So we have 0.5 minus 0.3 is 0.2. Step 3, divide that result by the target cell value. In this case, the target cell value was 0.270, which gives me 0.74. Yeah, 74 is fine. Next step, multiply that result by the width of the target cell's interval. Well, the interval here is from 8 to 9. That's a width of 1. So you can say times 1 if you want to, but it doesn't change much. We still get 0.74. And then the last step is to add that result to the left endpoint of the target cell, the interval of the target cell. The interval is from 8 to 9. The left endpoint would be 8. So taking 8 and adding 0.74 would be 8.74. And so this is our median educational attainment in 1940. Okay, and the next question is, what's the size of that jump? That is to say, what is the jump from 1990, or rather from 1940 to 1990? And that would be a jump of 13.45 minus 8.74, or 4.71. The last question wants us to find the median educational attainment for every decade. We've already done 2 of them, and it wants us to figure out the biggest change from one decade to the next. So that's going to be a lot of median computation. I'm going to do that right now. Okay, we have all the medians for every decade, and we want to figure out which decade has the biggest jump. Where was the jump the largest as we went from one decade to the next? So we're just going to find the difference between each decade. I'm going to start with this guy, 10.05 minus 8.74. 10.05, oops, let's do 10.05 minus 8.74. This gives me 1.31. So the jump from 1940 to 1950 was 1.31 years. The jump from 1950 to 1960 would be 11.83. minus 10.05. That jump is 1.78. That jump seems to be the biggest so far. This jump is on the order of 0.4. This jump is also on the order of like 0.4 or 0.5. This jump is 0.7. So the biggest jump occurred when we got 1.78 years of additional educational attainment. That occurred from 1950 to 1960. So that is the biggest jump.